Tyson has been doing very well with the chicken business. They've invested in the last couple of years in improving their operations, and we've seen that come through with a better margin, better operating usage, and that sort of thing. But when we look at the guidance for next year, over half of their adjusted operating income is expected to come from chicken. And for a diversified protein company, that's putting a lot of eggs in one basket, so to speak. And so, it's doing well. There's a lot of momentum behind chicken in general, but Tyson is going to be very dependent on the continued success of that segment to hit its guidance for next year.
Talk to us about the cattle herd in this country. How does that work here? I mean, prices are so high, and I thought for like a lot of commodities, when you see a price, move materially higher, it brings on more supply, but I guess it's a little different in the cattle business. What's your understanding?
Yeah, it's a little bit harder in the cattle business. You have to remember that raising cattle it's a capital intensive activity. And so there have been a lot of things that have held ranchers back from increasing the size of their herds. We've had high interest rates because a lot of them have to borrow in order to rebuild herds. We've had drought conditions, especially in the West and in the South, which make it difficult to commit to raising more animals if your land can't sustain them. And so those are some of the kind of structural impediments that have really held us back from what we would typically at this point have expected to see some rebuilding of those herds already. Tyson says they see a couple of indicators in the Northwest, in the upper Midwest, that there's some heifer retention coming. That means that cows are not being sent to slaughter, but it's not enough to really move the needle. So from our estimate, we're not looking at a meaningful change in supply until 2028. Expect high beef prices to continue.
Yeah, okay, so not great news if you're a hamburger lover, and it's because these consumer beef prices that are at record highs is what prompted President Trump to ask the DOJ to investigate the meatpacking industry. He is blaming majority foreign-owned companies for driving up these beef prices. Jen, how do you think about this?
Well, when we look at this, I mean, this seems like it's more of a political maneuver than actually based on anything from a market perspective at this point. We will see what the DOJ comes up with and what they actually share. But this seems to be looking for a rationalization for high beef prices versus actually understanding what the market fundamentals are. And the other thing you have to remember is that we import a huge amount of beef, especially for ground beef, from Brazil. And we have tariffs on that. So part of the government's own policy is contributing to the higher beef prices, but that's not part of this investigation at all.
All right. So what's next for Tyson? Are these kind of companies, how much do they have in their control? Because they don't have control of herd sizes and bird flus and things like that. The weather, exactly. So how do investors kind of invest in a company like Tyson's?
Yeah, you really have to look at how are they controlling what they can control, and so that comes down to their operations. Are they generating the efficiency they need to out of their plants? Are they operating at capacity? Do they still have excess capacity to fill? It really comes down to operational execution in this kind of backdrop when there are a lot of unknown variables that can impact supply. But ultimately, supply, at least for chicken, does look pretty good. It looks pretty solid. So if all things go well, Tyson should be in a position to be able to hit that guidance.
Before we let you go, Jen, what does pricing for turkeys look like as we get closer to Thanksgiving?
Nice.
Yeah, turkey has been hit harder by avian flu than chicken, and so if you're talking about a frozen turkey, you're going to be fine. Those turkeys have been in frozen storage for quite a while. They'll be ready to go. If you're more interested in the fresh bird, your price is probably going to be a little bit higher this year than it was last year.